the Ghana's financial crisis. We've heard from time to time how we journeyed from closing down banks because we said the banks were not in a stable condition, to listening to the prospect of why we must go to the IMF, to the trend of why we need a domestic debt exchange program, the ramification of this program and its impact on our financial sector. I'm privileged to have with me here a professor and a scholar from the Institute of Economic Affairs, Mr. Bilson Daku, here to help me break down the issue in depth. Prof, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Good. Welcome to Metro Business Week.
Thank you, too.
Great.
Yeah.
Last week, you released a very outstanding report with regards to Ghana's financial crisis. You even proposed solutions. But before we get to the solution bit, tell us why we are where we are today and what you believe is the way forward.
Ghana is currently where we are because of the kind of structural problems that we have had in the economy since independence. As we discussed last week, various governments...
Forgive me, I'm not cutting you, but we'll come back to the same issue, which is something that we're going to discuss broadly. But we have Bella, who is joining us on the phone line. So, Bella, good afternoon. You're watching Metro Business Week. Let's hear from you.
Please, good afternoon.
Yes, please.
Please, I want to talk concerning the fact that there's brain drain in the country.
Go ahead.
Please, even as a student, I've realized that people are not getting jobs. The qualified people are not getting jobs. And then they expect us to stay here in Ghana while there are greener pastures outside. Then that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bella. You can also call into the show and we'll hear from you. I'll also take the opinion of Professor Alexander Bilson Daku here into the studio on what he proposes we can best address, because we know financial crisis is something that can definitely be a trickle-down effect of brain drain that we're facing now. Doc, sorry, Prof, sorry for cutting you. You can go ahead.
That's fine. I said, as you recall what we discussed the other day, the structure of the economy is a significant contributor to the situation we find ourselves in. That is the recurring of the financial crisis. Various governments have attempted to change the structure to move us into the realms of being able to manufacture and export high-quality goods so that we'll be able to earn a lot of foreign currency instead of depending on external sources to finance our development. But these efforts have not succeeded over the period since independence, simply because we have not had stable economic transformation program for all governments to follow. Indeed.
If you say stable economic program, are you insinuating that indeed what we started since independence to now is not something that we should build upon, but rather should try to kind of change the model? Is that what you're proposing?
No, what I'm saying is that various governments
yes.
have come with their own programs, and when they are no more, those programs are discontinued.
Okay.
So the programs have not been stable. You mentioned Singapore. You talked a lot about Singapore. Singapore had, for more than 30 years, the same economic transformation program, and that the government followed. So we know conventionally, when we have a political stability like we have had for the past 30 years, since the Fourth Republic, we should be expecting some economic stability and what we call the democratic dividend. That because there's democracy, it's supposed to translate into economic prosperity, growth and development for all. We have not been able to chalk that, simply because various governments comes with various programs of their own to develop the nation, which get changed when the next government comes. So that is what I'm talking about. We haven't had that stability.
Okay, let's assume we want to move on the path of stability. From your professional perspective, what model do you perceive, if we decide to align ourselves with, would help us?
It is not the model that has been used per se that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Again, I will stress the stability. So with any of the models that these governments have had, if those models have continued over time, could do something better. than what we have seen.
So since we don't have an aligned model, is that what you're saying?
That is why we are calling that the NDPC must come up with a national program that all governments will implement. Without that, there's no country in this world that has been able to develop with such chaotic programs. This government comes and it has its own slogan and policy. The other government comes and has its own slogan and policy. Wouldn't help. It wouldn't wash. We shouldn't be seen doing this in this day and age, in this global network that we belong to. We should be able to have one national development plan that each government implements. And the government that implemented better is the government that keeps staying in power. Very simple. I don't think we should entertain this continuity of instability. Government coming in with their own plan, feeling obliged that they gain the power, so they should go with their plan, but not somebody called NDPC to gain their plan. They want the power for the people. The economy is for the people, not for the party, correct? So the people's plan containing the NDPC plan should be the one that, no matter what government is in power, should be implementing. And that stability is what we've been lacking since independence, since 57. That's what we've been lacking. And that is one of the biggest reasons why we find ourselves in this continuity.
I read your report, and you said in the phrase that we shouldn't tie our sustainability to just IMF conditionalities or any conditionality or policy, but rather to homegrown solutions. Can you throw light on that?
What I've been saying is that most of the policies, for 17 times that we have been to the IMF, we have had IMF program to follow. And we do well following them. The moment we exit, then we embark on the bad behavior of overspending, overborrowing, and get into another crisis. So I am saying that anytime that we have had stability in this country, it's because we were following some conditionality, right? Because there's a need for you to satisfy some conditions before you get the next tranche. As we are waiting for the second tranche, you will see that things will stabilize because we are waiting for the second tranche. And the government wants the money to come in, so government will be disciplined. The moment we exit, if you look at history, the moment we exit, then we go on spending spree. And we go on policies that do not align to anything, probably has no anchor to anchor the aspiration of the nation on, right? So once we have a national development plan, these things will not be happening. At least the IMF conditions may be part of the national plan that we're following either before the crisis or after the crisis. Once that happens, Ghana would be better than it is today.
People really become conscious when a policy directly affects them. So I want to understand, in just a layman perspective, how does the domestic debt exchange or the happening since we started this journey of IMF affect you and I directly?
The domestic debt exchange has various effects, first direct and second indirect. The direct effect are the bondholders, people who lost wealth to government. Individual bondholders, the pension, the banks. We were holding an asset that we are expecting some flow of income, and the value of the asset is self-preserved. However, the DDE program changes these dynamics and makes you lose. So the direct effect will be on the people, the banks, the individuals who hold the bonds. They would experience significant decline in wealth. And that's what we are seeing with the banking sector, where some banks are declared some losses in the first quarter. So that's the first effect. The second effect would be on lending activities of the bank. The lending activity of the bank will be severely impaired because these banks do not have enough funds, and also because of this loss, their cost of lending would increase, and hence you and I, the ordinary person on the street, borrowing to finance a business or whatever will be impaired because the cost of borrowing has gone up. Okay? And there wouldn't even be, like I said, there wouldn't even be enough credit facility to go around. And then when the individuals who lose wealth to government through this program, their spending habit would also change. Those who used to remit other people would reduce. So this will have a lot of effect in the economy, direct and indirect.
Prof, you know, Prof is raising very key issue, but as of now, we have Ben calling from Legon. Good afternoon, Ben. Hachu. Ben calling from Hachu. Ben, you're live on Metro Business. Hello, Ben.
Hello?
Yeah, kindly make your point, please.
Yes, right. Now, first of all, I think when we talk about Ghana's economic and financial crisis, we should put it into context of the global situation. Our economic crisis currently, right now, is based on the two main major, literally catastrophic occurrences in the whole world. Number one, the pandemic. Number two, the Russian-Ukraine war. These two things distorted the whole economic system. Many of the superpowers, the G8, couldn't even survive.
Okay, Ben.
From Germany to whatever to that. Now, when that happens, it's just like you built your house and there's thunder or storm or whatever hits it. How you manage that? You do not go to or put the consequences or the result of the storm to.
Okay, Ben, make your point brief. Ben, please make your point brief.
My point is this. Point is this. We have taken the context out of God, the things that are on the ground now being instituted by the government in place now is sufficient. And I like the way that professor said. It needs stability for it to bring fruits.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
I can go back to the bank. Somebody has spoken about that. That thing saved millions of people from putting their heads on their head and whip.
Okay, Ben.
The government saved them from that by that financial cleanup. Those banks that were closed, they would have been crooks. They would have taken people's money and gone down, bankrupt. And
all
people
right.
Would have, look at men's gold. That is the example.
Okay, Ben.
So
you've made some quite serious point there. All right, Ben.
Sir, I want me to invite me to the station.
We'll invite you. Don't worry, we'll invite you, Pa. We'll take your number and invite you. All right.
Please do.
So, okay, Ben.
I will come anytime.
No problem. All right, that's Ben joining us there from Shiashi there, actually, and he's made his point. You can also call or send your message via the WhatsApp line, and we'll hear from you. Prof was just starting here. It was like, I need to address this. Prof, the Russia-Ukraine war has been lifted above our heads and sunk into our brains. Many have been saying, indeed, is that the cause of why we are where we are? Or there's a reason why the Russian-Ukraine war has changed the way things are done in regards to Ghana's economy?
I'll respond to what Ben said. First, what we are talking about is what the nation has been experiencing since independence.
Yes.
Not only the current situation, all right? We are also not saying that external sectors are not significant in causing financial crisis for us. I haven't said that. Nobody will say that. But please, let's put it in right perspective. In other words, let's ask ourselves this question. If Russia-Ukraine war didn't happen, would Ghana not have been in the financial crisis? I doubt it. We would still have been. Maybe not this deep.
But a bit deeper.
But yeah, we would still be in the crisis.
Let's see if Courage, who's also calling us, has the same thing to say. Prof, I'll come back to you, please. From Ashama, Courage. Courage from Ashtown. Courage, if you can hear me.
Yes. Yes.
Can you make your point brief, please?
Yes. Well, I just joined the conversation, all right. But what I want to say is, I agree with the plan that the man was talking about, that there should be a national development plan, where they would break it down to maybe 4 years, or 8 years. I think that is going to help the country, because now where we are now is too bad.
Okay. I think, all right, Courage, thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Courage.
I just want to add up to what he's saying. That is a very good plan.
Okay. We are grateful that you could make time to call into the show. We are also waiting to hear from you wherever you are, and let's take this seriously. Prof, you're making a point.
So as I was saying, a shock like COVID was very significant. If you look at the books of Ghana, COVID caused a lot of damage to our finances. That's correct. Much as we had some shocks in the past. In the 80s, we went to IMF several times because we had experienced what is called the oil price shocks. So externally, yes, we get influenced by the external factors. But if you look at it very well, domestic causes coming from policy, coming from overspending, have dominated in causing our financial crisis. We can't deceive ourselves by throwing our eyes and focusing only on the external sectors. All of us agree the external sectors are significant. But domestic policy formulation, domestic policy implementation, the nature of it, and the way we spend more than the government gets revenue is the root cause of all our financial crisis. It is the root cause. External factors can add to it or not, but it is the root cause of our financial crisis. And that is why we are proposing that we need to get ourselves out of that kind of conundrum and begin to be seeing programs that will promote a lot of growth in the economy and help generate more revenue for government to be able to maintain its fiscal deficit within a range that in itself will continue to be promoting. That's what we need.
Indeed. Prof, before we go, I want you to give us what you believe is the best direction. You've said sustainability is something that we should focus on, but I also know probably there's more.
There's more because if you look at it recently, over the past 16 years, we have also gotten deep into borrowing from market sources internationally, called international capital market. The moment a nation veer into that realm, then you definitely have to be very careful in the management of domestic policies, because a little tolerating of weakness in the economy will trigger this capital to reverse, which we saw that's happened to Ghana now. So this current crisis is unique. Among all the 17, this is unique. This is the one that was triggered because we got deeper into borrowing from the international capital market. So we have to avoid excessive borrowing. Because the moment you do that, then you change the structure of the debt and also the interest payment of the debt. The interest payment becomes higher on the average, the structure becomes shorter, and that means the economy needs to perform super well than before to be able to be in a position to have that kind of structure of international debt. But we are not there yet. So we have to be careful. And one important thing is that, you see, currently it is the government that is deep into this international capital market. If you look at the history of every country, Latin America, Asia, wherever, where there were some severe crises, in these countries, even the private sector itself also got into international capital market. We are not there yet. So as we have become popular, we always celebrate that Ghana goes back to the successful international financial capital market to raise money. We should also be careful to come out with governance structure of companies, with regulations for the financial sector, so that when the banks and financial institutions get into the international capital market, we would not be exposing ourselves to bigger and bigger financial crisis going forward. That is a warning. That is something that we have to be very serious with.
Thank you very much, Professor Alexander Bilson Dako, for giving us insight in that angle. If you're watching us indeed wherever you are, you should know that this is the things he said today are research facts, and you and I can decide to argue about it, but the reality will indeed test us whether we are going the right direction or not. Policy is the way to go. We need sustainability, and I'm glad to have the Institute of Economic Affairs here with me to really throw more light on this discussion.